Hello, my name is Oscar. I'm a computer science facilitator. In this video, we are going to see how we can create a function in C++ programming and call it by reference. Let's go right now. What is a function? A function is a group of statements which are executed and perform a specific task. But here we are talking about a user-defined function, not a built-in function. So a user-defined function must be called so that its statements are executed. So that is the reason why we are going to see some methods of calling a function, specifically how we can call it by reference so that its statement will be executed. Call by reference. As you know, we have two types of calling a function. We can call a function by value or call it by reference. So in this video, we see how we can call a function by reference. So what is call by reference? Call by reference is a method in which it passes the reference or addresses of the actual parameter to functions formal parameters. So each user-defined function has formal parameters. It means that the parameters you give a function when you are declaring it. So to call by reference, you have to pass addresses to the formal parameters so that the function fetches the values from given memory addresses and perform its specific task. So we have two types of parameters here, which are formal parameters, means the parameters that you pass a function once you are defining it. Actual parameters are the parameters that are passed while calling a function. It means that once you call a function, you have to give it the values that the function uses during execution of its statement to perform the task that is specified to do. So what is a pointer? Because once we call a function by reference, we will use also pointers. So that is the reason why I want you to understand what is a pointer. A pointer in computer programming is a variable which stores the address of another variable. So by definition, a variable is a memory location which can store different values. So a pointer is a variable that stores the address of another variable. And the variable whose addresses are stored by a pointer is called object. So in the study of pointers, we have two types of operators, which are address of or reference operator. It is an operator which is denoted by ampersand symbol, and the reference operator. So what is an address operator? An address operator is a mechanism in C++ that returns the memory address of a variable. So this operator belongs in the category of unary operators, means operator which acts on one operand. So once a variable is together with this operator, it means that this operator will shows or will print the address of the variable in memory. So another operator is indirection or the reference operator, which is denoted by asterisk. This is also a unary operator which is used once a programmer is declaring a pointer. So this operator operates on a pointer, and this one returns the value of an object. Remember that each pointer points to an object. So this operator will be used to access the content of an object or the variable store or the value which is stored by object, or simply a variable whose addresses are stored by a pointer. So once a programmer is creating a function, he or she has to respect the following syntax. So this is the general C++ syntax to create a function. Each user-defined function must have what we call a return type, and a return type is like a data type, like int in C++, float, double, void, and so on. Each user-defined function also must be given a function name. So a function name will be any valid identifier in C++ programming, or simply any variable name respecting the variable naming rules. So we have a list of parameters depending on the task that the function is designed to do. We have the list of parameters where each parameter is declared by using data type, C++ data type, and the parameters are separated one to another by a comma. And also the user-defined function must have a body, and the body of this function is determined, or it is shown by left curly brackets and the right curly brackets. So within the body of a function, we have the statement showing what the function is going to do. So what is a function call? To call a function means to provide the function the actual parameters, or just the values that the function will use during execution of its statement. So to call a function, we must always have the function name and the parameters, or actual parameters, which are enclosed in parentheses. And as you know, in C++, each statement is ended by semicolon, so that is the reason why the function call statement is always ended by a semicolon. So we can see some examples of C++ programs containing user-defined functions which have been called by reference. So the first example is a call by reference without using pointers. So let's have an example of a C++ program containing a function that will calculate the sum of two numbers. As you know, the first statement of each C++ program is a preprocessor directive. So we have include IOStream. We have also the second statement, which is about using namespace std, and remember that a namespace is used in C++ program to define the scope of the variables which will be used in the C++ program, so that there will not be the conflicts among the variables. So the namespace we use here is std, or standard. The following is the definition of a function. Our function is called add, and its return type is int. We have a pair of parentheses where we are going to declare the parameters. Remember that this function is created to calculate the sum of two numbers. So that is the reason why we will use two parameters. And we are going to call it by reference without using a pointer. Remember that when we use this symbol known as ampersand sign, it's like to show the address of a variable. So we have int ampersand a, comma int ampersand b. So these are the references, two references that our function is going to use in order to calculate the sum of two numbers. So within the body of our function means that inside the curly brackets we have the following statement: return a plus b. So this function will return a value because its data type is int, not void. So we have a good definition of our function respecting the syntax to define a function in C++. Remember that each C++ program must have what we call a main function. And the main function, this is where each C++ program started to be executed. So in the body of main function, we declare two variables that we will use as actual parameters in order to give what our function needs, means the values to be used during the execution of this function after calling it. So we have int variable x, variable y, semicolon. It means that this is the first statement. We start immediately the second statement here, which is used to initialize the variable x. The variable x is assigned 20 as a value, semicolon, and the variable y is assigned 15 as a value, semicolon. So the following statement is a function call. Remember that a function call statement is formed by function name. Our function is called the add, parentheses, and here we give the values that our function will use. So as we have created our function by using references, the reference called the A and the reference called the B, here we give immediately the values so that the function uses the following two values to calculate the sum of two numbers. Now let us see another example where the actual parameters are not initialized, because a program is created for the purpose of doing the specific task once the user provides to the program any value. So that is the reason why we are going to use this example so that we should call our function by reference, providing it any value we want. So the question is it write the C++ program that calculates the sum of two numbers entered from keyboard by using functions. So as we have seen, the first thing to know or to keep in mind is the syntax, the C++ syntax to create a function, and also the function call. So here we have the function call by using return type, which is the int, function name, which is the add, and here we have references. So in this case, we are going to call our function, or to create and call our function without using pointers. We are going to use the references, and the references, these are the variables which are together with ampersand symbol. So, and what is the task of our function? The statement within the body of our function is this: return a plus b. And after defining or after creating a function at this scope, we are going to call it in the main function. Keep in mind that a function, a user-defined function, is always created outside of all other functions in the same program. You see that the definition of this function is outside the main function. Don't define a function inside the main function. Inside the main function, we will call a function, but the definition of a function will be created outside of the main function. That you have to keep this in mind. So in the main function, we declare two variables and we do not initialize them. So the first variable is called num1 and the second variable is called num2. So we are going, these are declared variables. We are going to enter the values for each memory location. So we use the cout, enter the first number, and the cin statement to enter a number into the variable called num1. Cout enter the second number, and we provide the value to the variable name called num2. So as we have two numbers and we have created our function by using references, we are going to call it. And the function call statement is always formed by the function name. Here it is add. We have parentheses, operators, and here we give the values of actual parameters. So we give num1, comma, num2, and we provide the output. Cout, the sum of two numbers, is here we put the function call here, statement, ended by semicolon. So after writing the codes into dev C++ tool, we compile and run to check if our program does not contain the errors. So as we have this output, it means that our program does not contain syntax errors. So you see that enter the first number, and the first number entered was 56. Enter the second number. The second number entered is 114. The sum of two numbers will be 170. You see that 56 plus 114 is equal to 170. 70, which means that our function is able to calculate the sum of any two numbers. There are no runtime errors. Example number 2, we are going to see how we can call a function by reference but using pointers as formal parameters. So this is a function to calculate the area of square, and by understanding the two examples that I'm giving you, I hope that you will be able to create any C++ program containing any function able to perform any task. So include IOStream using namespace std as usual, and the following line we are going to create a function. You see that our function task is to calculate the area of square, and the area of square is calculated by taking the side of square times the side. So our function needs only one parameter, and here, because we wanted to call our function by reference by using also pointers, it means that the formal parameter of our function will be declared as a pointer. So my function return type is int, but you should put any other kind of return type, and my function name is called area. My function parameter is a pointer which is called C. So it is a pointer because it is a variable which has been declared by using asterisk or the reference operator. So within the body of our function we have a single statement which is return pointer C times pointer C, because the area of a square is equal to the side of square times the side, or just side square, and each statement is also ended by a semicolon. So after defining this function, we are going to get inside the main function, because each C++ program must have main function, and we call a function so that it is given the values that it will use to calculate the area of square. So void main, once we use a void return type, our function won't return to any value. So I declare the variable called the x. This is the first statement because it is ended by a semicolon, and I initialize the variable x to this value which is 20. And after initializing this value, I'm going to call a function. So on the previous example, here we put x without the ampersand sign. That is because we have created our function with references as formal parameters. So as here I have created my C++ function with pointers. So once I'm going to call it, I have to give it the address of the variable where, because a pointer is a variable which stores the address of another variable, it means that this address will be copied into the pointer, and because a pointer has the reference operator, this reference operator is used to get the value which is stored into this variable, and the function will use this value here as the side multiplies this value also to get the area of a square. So now let us see how we can create a C++ function and call it by reference, where the formal parameters are pointers. So write a C++ program to calculate the area of a square by using functions, and you call it by reference using pointers. So as you know, each time we want to create or develop a C++ program containing user-defined function, the first thing to do is to create or to define a function. And we define a function following the syntax of defining a function in C++. So in this equation, we are going to give the pointers to our function as the formal parameters. So you see that I have changed the return type so that you are familiar that you are going to use a different return type. So the return type of our function is a float, and my function name is called area of square. So once we have a name of a function which is composed by many characters or many words, we have to concatenate, we have to join the words by using underscore symbols. Don't use arithmetic operators like minus, because that is not allowed. And also you see that the formal parameter of my function is a pointer, because we have asterisk symbol or the reference operator here. Within the body of my function, we have the statement to calculate the area of a square. So we have return pointer C times pointer C. Remember that a pointer is a variable which stores the address of another variable. It means that during the call of this function, we will give it addresses so that the function get access to the value that it will use to calculate the side of the area of a square. So inside the main function, we have to declare a variable because we want this program to calculate the area of any square. So that is the reason why we don't initialize the variable size to any value, but we write C++ statement allowing the programmer to enter the value inside the variable to enter the value from a keyboard, so that we call the function by giving it the address where to find the value that the function uses to calculate the area of a square. So C out enter the side of square, C in enter side. Side is a variable. So here we have the function called statement, and as the formal parameter of my user-defined function is a pointer, so once I call it, I give it the address, because a pointer is a variable which is always assigned the address of another variable, and also the function will take the value from this variable to calculate the area of a square. So we call this function by reference and by reference. So see out the area of square will be area of square parenthesis ampersand sign. So now let us check the output of our program. enter the side of square. This is the sequence of characters which are argument of cout function and also embedded or enclosed into double quotes. So enter the side of square and the programmer enter 25. So 25 is a value of memory location or variable side, and as I call my function by giving the address where to find the value 25, so the function takes 25 and also times 25 to get 625. So the area of square is 625. You see that calling a function by reference is very easy, so you have to keep in mind two main ideas. So you have to know and keep in mind the syntax to declare or to create a function and the syntax to call it a function. And once you call a function by reference, you can use references as formal parameters, and also you can use pointers as formal parameters. And when you call a function, you provide addresses to the function if you have used pointers as formal parameters, or you can give it the values that the function uses during execution of its statement once you call it. So let's stop by here. I hope that you enjoy my videos, but don't forget to subscribe to my channel for the purpose of getting new videos and also supporting my channel. Thank you. See you next time.